Hello everyone, I'm Ihsan. In this latest iOS update in version 16.2 beta 3, finally Apple gave up on keeping the always on display version, which comes with a slightly dim wallpaper. And now finally Apple is following in the footsteps of the always on display look as in Samsung and other Androids which have already used it for a long time. This could be because some user feedback that concerned about battery life and also the durability of the iPhone screen in the long run by using the always on display with a dim wallpaper only. And fortunately now finally in the latest iOS update developer beta version on iPhone 14 series, Apple has added the latest option to disable the always on display with wallpaper. So now you can get an always on display with a true black background, which of course could save more battery. The latest design of always on display on iOS 16.2 beta now can be activated without displaying wallpaper. And of course, it can display the important information only, such as clocks, widgets, dates, and notifications. For notifications, there is also an option to remove it if you don't want to display it on the always on display. The most minimalist option for always on display, which can be set in this latest iOS version, at least by showing the time and date only. And if you want to add a widget on the lock screen, the widget will also immediately appear on the always on display in the exact same position. Then for the display of notifications on the always on display, if being activated with always on display without wallpaper, the position of the notification on the always on display will also immediately follow the position of the notification that appears on the lock screen. It can be seen that Apple is trying very hard to maintain the consistency of all display positions on the lock screen, so that the animation is seamless when transitioning from the lock screen display to the always on display. And this is one of the advantages of the always on display on Apple compared to Android, especially on the Samsung One UI 5.0. Apart from the position of the widgets and notifications being the same on the always on display and lock screen, when showing no playing music, the display and position are also very consistent and it will only change the background color to black. However, in the album art view on the music track still appear with color on the always on display on the iPhone. Here, even when opening the large version of album art in the lock screen view with a single tap on the album art section, the always on display will also follow the album art look from the no playing music track with a large display. If we compare the new always on display look in the latest version of iOS on iPhone with the look of always on display on Samsung with One UI 5 based on Android 13, the display of the no playing music track on Samsung One UI 5 only appears on a small section. It only shows the singer's name and the title of the song. And the album art will only appear if we double tap on the name of the music track, which will appear with an option for scrubbing the track at the bottom. Apart from that, the most visible difference is the animation transition from the lock screen display to the always on display. On One UI 5.0 display, the clock position on the always on display will move around a little from the clock position on the lock screen every time you lock the smartphone. As for the display on the iPhone, all of its position remain consistent in the same position all the time. So which always on display is better on these two smartphones? In our opinion, in terms of aesthetic and consistency, Apple's always on display looks a little bit better compared to the Android version. However, on Android, even though it looks inconsistent because the position of the clock always changes, but here the benefit is to reduce the risk of burn-in or shadow on the AMOLED screen. For those of you who don't know what burn-in or shadow is, you can check the video that appears on the screen. Hopefully useful. See you in the next video.